Alright guys, we'll go ahead and start our new unit and our new chapter of our lives in geometry. We're going to start talking about pairs of lines, transversals, and angles. First thing, we got a few vocabulary words we need to cover here. We have parallel lines, which you should already know what those are. Coplanar lines that do not intersect. So we just have two lines that are never, ever, ever going to intersect. One thing I want you to note is that when lines are parallel, we need to make sure that we note them by let the reader know by either putting arrows. Sometimes you'll see little triangles. It doesn't matter which one. That'll just tell you that the lines are parallel. Get a little bit neater here. Next, skew lines. These are lines that do not intersect, so they're not parallel, but they're not coplanar, meaning they're not going to be perpendicular either. They're not going to intersect at all. So these we can write down here, don't intersect, but also not parallel. So it's hard to draw this because we're going two-dimensional. When you have skew lines, they are when we get three-dimensional. So what we'll do instead is we'll take a look down here at this picture, this diagram down here, and we'll identify three-dimensional figure. We can identify two segments that are skew, and that's going to be like segment, say segment CD right here. It'll be skewed with segments EA down here. I'm going to color kind of carefully because I'm going to use a lot of colors here. So right up here we can just write segment CD and segment EA below. So we know to look down below. Okay, I'll go ahead and highlight that as well so I know, hey, look for those highlighted lines. Parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. So you're going to have these two-dimensional things. Again, kind of hard to draw, but we can just say, hey, here's a plane, and then here's another plane. You could think about it as pieces of paper kind of stacked on top of each other, even though they're like touching, but if I have it like, another piece of paper above it, and what I'm doing is I'm holding the paper above it, instead of laying it down flat, those would be parallel planes. Now in this figure, what we're going to do is we're going to identify some what they're asking for. And here, let's say, okay, we want to know segments that are parallel to AB. So here we can say find AB, which is going to be right here. We're going to have two other segments that are going to be parallel with AB. Well, we'll just name one of them. So we'll just say segment AB is parallel to segment, well, we have back here, EF. So segment EF. Next, we want to know what are two other sets of parallel segments. So we do have quite a few. We can look up here. We could say if we take segment DE right here, segment DE, we could find another segment that is parallel with it, and that would be segment CF over here. Okay, so we could say segment DE is parallel to segment CF. We can also find over here, let's look at AD right here, will be parallel to segment CB right here. So segment AD is parallel to segment BC. You can call it segment CB. Don't forget you can switch those two letters around in a segment. I'm just OCD and like to go alphabetical a lot. So then your last set of parallel segments that we did not talk about yet would be segment AE and segment BF right here. And that's our parallel sign. Okay. We now need to talk about and identify a pair of skew segments. So when we look over here, remember these are going to be segments like what I have highlighted. We're going to identify another pair here. If we take a look at AB, okay, we can say that segment AB is skew to segment. Let's take a look. There are several of them, okay, and we'll identify DE over here. All right. We're going to talk about parallel planes and identify some parallel planes on this because it is a triangular prism. One property of triangular prism, triangular prisms only have one pair of parallel planes. Okay, so what we're going to see here is this side right here and this side right here. These planes are going to be your parallel planes. When we get into volume, these will also be your bases of the prism. So down here, I'll go ahead and write it not in yellow because it'll be a little hard to see. Our parallel planes, we can say plane DAE. So DAE, this plane right here, is parallel to plane CBF. This one over here. I'll put plane. Alrighty. Next, I'll go ahead and change my page. Let's start looking at this word transversal. It's in the title, so let's talk about what a transversal is. Transversal is going to be a line that's going to intersect two or more coplanar lines. So we're looking at two-dimensional coplanar. So it's going to enter at different points. All right, so what we have here is we have these two lines. The transversal is going to be that line that intersects at different points. So it intersects one line right here and one line right here. Those are the two different points. When we're dealing with lines and a transversal, there are different areas that we need to know because we're going to start naming different kinds of angles. So when two lines are cut by a transversal, we've got about 5 new angle pairs we're going to learn. First, what I want to talk about is here we're going to identify, lost my brown pen, the transversal. It's going to be that line right there. So on both of these, we can start off by identifying what our transversal is. On this first diagram here on the left, I'm going to talk about interior and exterior. Your angles can be located, excuse me, on the interior, or they can be located on the exterior. What this means is inside or outside of the two lines. Okay? So your interior would be right here. So these 4 angles will be your interior angles, whereas your exterior angles will lie outside. So these 2 angles up here and these 2 angles down here will be exterior. Also, your angles can lie on the same side of the transversal, or they can be located on opposite sides. The word opposite is not what's going to be used in the name, though, so what you need to get used to seeing is the word alternate. Okay, alternate is going to mean opposite when we're dealing with transversals. So we look at the second diagram over here. Same side is going to be all of these angles. So these 4 angles right here are going to be on the same side. And then you have also, I turn my page, over here. Okay, So just kind of identifying in the diagram what it looks like. So let's talk about these angles. Let's talk about what they look, what their names are, and how to identify them. Okay? The first one we're going to look at is alternate interior angles. Your alternate interior angles are going to be on opposite sides, where we've got the alternate of the transversal, and they're going to be between the two lines. That alternate, opposite, and there's an alternate, and between the lines is going to be that interior that we talked about. Okay? A lot of times we will abbreviate this as AIA, alternate interior angles. So when we look up at the top, this diagram right here, we need to recognize our transversal. I'm going to highlight it. Okay? We are looking at alternate sides or opposite sides of the transversal. So we're going to want one angle off the left, one angle off the right. And we're going to want them inside. So we need to pay attention to inside of our two lines. So we don't want to pay attention to this side or to this side here. So we're looking at 2, 6, 3, and 7. We have two pairs of alternate interior angles. Remembering that we're looking at alternate. We're inside. So if we take angle 2, we're going to say it's alternate interior with cross over the transversal to angle 7. Also, if you take angle 6, cross over the transversal to angle 3. Okay, so angle 2 and 7 will be alternate interior. Angle 6 and 3 will be alternate interior. Next, we have alternate exterior. So this is going to be the same but opposite, kind of. Okay, now we're looking at the exterior part. We can abbreviate this AEA, especially when you get into your proofs. So now we're not looking on the inside anymore. We're looking on the exterior angles. Okay, so angles 1, 5, 4, and 8. So again, we do have two pairs. If I look at angle 1, I want the alternate side. It's going to be over here at angle 8. Then if I look at angle 5 up here, it will be alternate exterior with, go to the other side of the transversal. So we're going to cross over the transversal with angle 4. Now we're going to deal with your same sides. Sometimes I call them consecutive sides, but we usually hear as same side interior angles. We can abbreviate this as SSIA. So now we're looking at the same sides. So here, same side interior, so we want to focus on interior, so only these 4 angles. So same side's pretty easy. You can use all these Post-its. We want to go on the same side of that transversal, and right there I've got one pair. Angle 2 and angle 3. But remember, we do have another side. So you can also say that angle 6 and angle 7 are same side interior. Now we're going to talk about the same side exterior, abbreviated as SSEA. Start to pick up the pattern hopefully here. So we're going to be on the same side, but now we're going to be outside. So I can't really cover up like I did earlier. I can only use one Post-it. We're going to look at this side, but we want to focus on the 2 angles that are on the exterior. So we have angle 1 and angle 4. Then we need to look at the other side. Remember, we don't want the middle. The interior, we want the outside, angle 5 and angle 8. The last new pair of angles we're going to talk about is corresponding. The corresponding angles are going to be in matching positions. So top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right is usually how I identify this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with angle 1 right here. Your corresponding angles are going to be an angle from one intersection and the matching angle from the other intersection. So if I start with angle 1, there are a lot of corresponding angles. Angle 1 would correspond with, well, if you look at the intersection, it's at the top left. Go to the other intersection, top left, angle 3. If we go over here and look at angle 5, angle 5 is on the top right. Down here, we'll go to the top right, angle 7. Next, let's look at angle 2. Angle 2 is on the bottom left. Go to the other intersection, bottom left, angle 4. Those will correspond or match. Last but not least, we need angle 6 to find its corresponding angle. It is on the bottom right. Come down here, bottom right, 8. Okay? Now we're going to have some we do, you do's going on here. Okay? We are going to look at these. We're going to look at some angle pairs, identify which of these 5 that we just talked about and what the transversal is. So we're going to have to identify which line, because now we have several lines. We have line A, B, C, and D. So I'll start you guys off. The first thing we're going to look at here is angle 1 and angle 5. So cover up what I don't need. I don't need this line at all. So ignore it so it doesn't confuse you. So what's my transversal? Look for the line that cuts through the other 2. The single line by itself, the line that both angles touch. So your transversal, T, would be line C. We look at these 2, and we see they're on the same side of the transversal, but one's interior, one's exterior. We don't have that. But look, angle 1 is on the top right, angle 5 is on the top right. So we have matching positions. So these would be your corresponding angles. Next, we're going to look at angle 4 and angle 6. So look at angle 4 and angle 6. Cover up any extra lines we don't need. Which line do both of these touch? The transversal. Line C again. So that's our transversal. We take a look and we see that both of these are on the inside and they're on opposite or alternate sides. So we have alternate interior angles. So I'm going to go ahead and abbreviate. Our next pair of angles, angle 4 and angle 10. Look at that, we get to cover this guy up now. So which angle do both angle 4, or sorry, which line do both of those touch? Which one goes through the other 2? A. So now the transversal has changed to A. We take a look at the angle 4 and angle 10. They're on opposite or alternate sides of transversal A, and they're on the exterior. So alternate exterior angles. Now we have angles 2 and angle 9. So keep this guy covered up. And here we're going to see that they're both on the inside. So we can even cover up the outside part. And we're going to notice they're on the same side of that transversal. And what was that transversal? Line A. And so since they're on the same side and they're inside, we have same side interior. The next several you're going to do on your own. And we will go over in class, make sure that you have what angle pair they are and what their transversal is. Now we're going to look at what happens if we have several different lines, another diagram to kind of look at. Okay, I'm going to do about half of them with you, and then you will do the other half on your own. So let's start off with angle A and angle B. So here I have angle A and I have angle B. I'm going to cover up what I can that I don't need. And I'm going to see that here's my transversal. They're on the same side, but one's interior, one's exterior, meaning can't be a same side. We have the bottom left, they match, corresponding. All right. Then we have angle A and angle C. So here I'm going to have angle A and I'm going to have angle C. Don't need these guys. Now you can't really cover up that line in the middle, but I want you to ignore this guy right here. Okay, pretend he's not there. Try your hardest. Look at A and C. On our transversal, they are on alternate sides, so we should have an alternate, and we're looking at this top line and this bottom line. They are both inside these two lines. That middle line does not matter with these two, because these angles don't touch that middle line. So we have alternate interior angles. Now we will take a look at angle C and angle E. Don't need any of this. Going to have that same situation where this line that point D or the angle D is on, we don't need him. Okay? We look at angle C and we look at angle E. We notice that they are on alternate sides of my transversal, and they're located exterior on the outside of the two lines. So we have alternate exterior angles. Now let's look at angle A. We just keep going back to angle A. Angle A and angle E. So this gets really frustrating because you have so many lines in between them, but we don't want any of these lines right here. Okay? We don't want any of these lines. All we need is this top line, the bottom line, and the transversal. We notice that one is inside and one is outside. So let's take a look. A is in the bottom left. E is in the bottom left, giving us matching or corresponding angles. You need to get used to matching and corresponding going together. You're going to use that all year. This is the last one I'm going to do with you. We're going to look at angle B, and we're going to look at angle C. So nice and pretty. Look at that. We can cover up everything else. B and C, angle B and C are on alternate sides of the transversal and both located interior. So we have alternate interior angles. All right, do the rest, and we will go over them in class the next day.